for joining us again this afternoon. We're going to do one more little program switch for those of you that have programs. We're going to do the panel discussion now, and then I will finish the entire program with my Colliding Worlds presentation. We'll do a little quick break in between that. So, move around the room, sit. Thank you again for all the students for being here. We appreciate that. For those of you that are not familiar with our speakers, our panelists are going to be Gordon Yellowman, who spoke this morning. Well, actually, both of our speakers spoke this morning. Okay. And Norene Starr, who have been instrumental as part of the core members of the team to help put this program together. Norene is the External Affairs Projects person for Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes of Oklahoma, and Gordon is a Peace Chief and the Director of Culture and Language as well. I'm Leslie Keys, and I'm here at Flagler College, and one of the three scholars with Lori Lee and Julie Dickover, who've been working from the Flagler College side to help the National Park Service to bring this effort to fruition. So, thanks.
No, he's got a copy. Yeah. Do you need it?
I'll read them.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure I can project. I probably don't need that. Some of this has been covered in the presentations over the last day and a half. We thought this might be a good way to sort of synthesize what we have all learned and think about the future, taking what we've pulled from many past events and continuing that circle to move forward. So the first question, why is it important to you that the Cheyenne and Arapaho warriors imprisoned at Fort Marion be remembered and honored? What steps would you recommend to honor the historic footprint of the Cheyenne and Arapaho warriors who were imprisoned here between 1875 and 1878? And Norene or Gordon?
Go ahead. Go first if you want.
I think it's supposed to be age before beauty.
Wow.
Well, like I said, if the chief speaks first, then everything's over with.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
So protocol, chiefs talk last.
So he's chief, so that means beauty has to go first. Can I see your questions?
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Okay, this is very important to me because it is my grandmother's grandfather and my grandfather's grandfather. So it is a straight, I'm a direct descendant of two of the prisoners. And this morning we discussed generational trauma, intergenerational trauma, and the things that myself and my family have endured. So I think it's better that we keep going and that we keep being inclusive. I would like to especially include the Seminoles and the Kiowas and the Comanches at some point, you know, and get them kind of acclimated into this understanding that we have now, that it's what we want to present, what we want to give, what we want to do, what we want you to understand. And that understanding is imperative so that we can heal. It's not just one thing, one and done. It's a process. Everything that we do is a process from the beginning to the end. And it's just like Gordon was saying this morning about, you know, everything's round, everything's in circles, you know. This is the same thing. It's in circles, you know. We've come back to this since, you know, 1878. It happened a long time ago, but we're back here now at this point. So now it's time to go ahead and continue to go forward. So that's why it's important to me. It's very important. It's spiritually important to me because, you know, I'm a veteran. So, you know, why did I serve? I went in the United States Army in 1978 and I got out in 82. I served my country because as a Cheyenne, we keep our word. And our word has always been to protect our families, our lands, our history, our language. So that, for me, this is very important. It's probably one of the most important things I've ever done. And, you know, I want to continue. But I want to hear everything. I want to hear all the pieces, not just parts or sums or make it glorious, because it's not glorious. This is an ugly story. This is not a fairy tale. This is true. These are factual. So I want to know everything. I want to know all the pieces. So, and I'm open to that. I'm open to that across the board. So, Gordon?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. You know, why is it so important for me as a Cheyenne chief to remember the warriors that were imprisoned here? It's because they were individuals. They were human beings just like us. They fought and protected us. They put their lives on the line for us. And we owe that to them. We owe them dignity, respect, and honor. And most of all, we owe them our love because they loved us. And so when you think about that, it's very important. We often think of them in being exiled away from our people, when in fact spiritually they were still connected to us. And when that connection can continue, the momentum we have started here, I'd like to see it to get stronger with other tribes. And like it was mentioned, this is a footprint. And a lot of times we can't fill the shoes that they wore or the moccasins they wore because of their leadership and skills, but we can follow their footprint. And those footprints will guide us to a better way of interpretation, a better way of education. And just like them, when they were in prison, they developed relationships with one another. They developed a unique relationship with Captain Henry Pratt. And they took orders from him, but they respected him in the end because they felt like they had an opportunity to survive. And when you're in that survival mode, you're going to do whatever it takes to survive. And that's what they did. They endured. And so that's the kind of empowerment we need. We need to inherit that, carry it on. And it's my hope that this event here will continue maybe biannually, annually, and maybe we hold it in Oklahoma. And that was the very reason why we emphasized Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes of Oklahoma. Because we have Northern Cheyenne. We have Northern Arapaho relatives. But we wanted them to be aware that Oklahoma tribes came here, honored them, did ceremony with them, and prayed with them. And we hope they follow. And we invite all the other tribes to come do what we did and ask permission from the tribes here. They've been supportive through all of this. And we may not personally know each other, but respectfully, we have that relationship of respect, just as they did when they came here. So that's an ongoing relationship that I hope personally, that this continues. I don't know if it can turn into an annual symposium or summit leaders. I don't know, but I hope that something does happen and continue. And, you know, for me, there's always two sides to the story. And don't just tell one side, tell both sides. And when you do that, you're going to have balance. You're going to have representation. And when they came down here, you know, their fear was execution. And so we can acknowledge their identity as warriors, respect them, continue to build off that respect. We're going to have great dialogue in the future. And that dialogue is that relationship. So that's my recommendation to the second question of let's keep the momentum going. Invite other leaders, invite other descendants, other tribes, and invite other ceremonial leaders, clan leaders, society leaders, so they can have an input and representation here. And maybe as an artist, I'd like to see a symposium held on ledger art. Have all the ledger artists come down here and do this. And if you can do that, that value of education is going to be extended to future generations through this art. And is it a process of healing? Yes. But most of all, it's a process of acceptance. The way we were treated, the way we were disrespected, dishonored. And that's the hard thing to accept. But with these kind of events, we can get to that healing, intergenerational trauma, historical trauma. And so, for me, instead of having that story told one-sided, tell our story, tell our stories. And I think we can all become better educated and stronger entities. And we always talk about, this word keeps coming up, sovereignty. Sovereign nations. When I first heard that word, I couldn't spell it. I still can't spell it, but I try. But sovereignty is something that it's our inherent right. We govern our people the way we govern, and it's based on our traditional laws, the supreme law of our lands. So think about those things, and I hope that this continues. I want to thank Fort Marion. And yeah, we had challenges. I'm not going to lie about that. We had communication challenges. We were all so hyped up into getting here that sometimes we stepped on toes. Sometimes we tripped. Sometimes we waited. Sometimes we didn't respond. Let's wait. Let's take a moment here. And that turned into frustration. And sometimes it turned into, should I go? Should I be the one really that's going to go? Should I even be a part of it? And so those were challenges within ourselves as facilitators. But Norene stood strong and kept telling us, we got to do this. We must do this. So I commended her for being a veteran and a warrior, female woman, talking about her relatives. And for me to be a part of this team, bringing my knowledge into it. And I feel better about things now. So continue to pray for us. Continue to think about us. And we'll do the same for you. We'll pray for you and hope that things work out for the best interest of our people.
We've sort of answered what's the third of the three questions we were going to pose today, in which what are the ways we can continue collaboration and engage in co-stewardship with Indigenous peoples. I'm going to put that with what's also our second question, which is how can the National Park Service continue to honor and present the complete history and share the stories of the imprisonments at Fort Marion or the Castillo de San Marcos. So I know you've finished, and we've done beauty and age, which leaves me sort of in limbo. So I'm going to hand it back to beauty and age.
Okay, well, I'm, and I've thought about this a couple of times, about because I was approached yesterday by a lady that said, "Can you tell me one thing, just one thing?" And I'm like, it just doesn't work that way. It's not one thing. It unfolds, the unfolding, and that's what we're doing now. Is we're unfolding this, and it's coming into fruition. However, the focus and the stories, like even with the ledger art, is amazing. I mean, it's so detailed how they were feeling and what they were thinking and what was going on within themselves and with each other. To be incarcerated can be many things. You can be incarcerated in your mind, you can be incarcerated in your heart and in your spirit. You can be incarcerated physically. So they were physically incarcerated, but the rest of them wasn't. It shows. It shows in their art. And like Gordon was explaining, that they were still connected to us, even though we didn't know where they were. Our families didn't know where they were. They had no connection because it was lost in that way. The only way they could communicate was through whoever their captors back home. And sometimes somebody would get a message and sometimes somebody wouldn't. They didn't have telephones back then. There was no email there was none of that communication. So it probably took a long time, I would think, like weeks to get some kind of communication. But I'm sure they wasn't allowed a lot of communication. However, because they were able to do these drawings and they were able to show us the whole thing, their hivamits, those steps that they took, those sacred steps that they took, we can see that story. We can see it. We know it now. We know what was going on with them. So now we have that connection through ledger art. If, we need to incorporate the ledger art, and we done videos. Now, we started this 5 years ago. I started this project 5 years ago. So what we did was we asked people that were direct descendants if they would come and share their story. And in the tribe, I don't really remember how many of them came and how many of them was recorded. About 8. So of those 8, we have those stories. Now we're going to do it again. By the way, we're going to do it again. Because we want more people to come forward, of our own people too. We want them to come and talk and share that story. And then that way, whenever Gordy and Stephen go ahead and they set up that, I don't know what they're doing, something over there at the fort where you can click on something and you can hear the stories from people. Our history is oral. It was never written down. So it's always oral. So that's what we got, is we got oral stories that we have now, the 8, and hopefully more to come. Then that way we can build on that even and expand so that there's more information there. And so, and even this story here that we done in the last 2 days, excuse me, week, anyway, in the last 2 days, that will be on there also at some point. But it's important, it's imperative that we continue. And, you know, like I said, that door opened, Gordy came in, and that door opened, and I waited a little bit, and I ran through it. But, you know, I had to have the courage to do that. But that courage wasn't my courage. It came through my blood. It came from my grandmother's grandfather and my grandfather's grandfather, through Big Moccasin and through Heap of Birds. Through that bloodline. That's what makes us strong and who we are as Cheyenne and Arapaho people. But I really think that we should continue that, and I think that we should figure a way. I mean, even if you can just bring people down for like a guest, I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of options here, and some of you students are here, so you know what? Y'all think of things too. Y'all are younger. Get your brains working. Hey. And mine's going to take a nap. Hey.
Beauty, age, and youth.
There you go. Oh, and you.
Well, you know, I think myself, you know, collaboration is key in what we do, but it all starts with talks, discussions, conversations. We had a very interesting conversation at lunch at the table, and those 5 people sitting at the table, they all had stories that were unique to our ways of how we live today. And when we network, you know, we can accomplish a lot more things with our knowledge. We can understand a lot more things, respect things. We talked about sundogs, and one person said, "What is a sundog?" And for us, that's traditional knowledge. And so there's a lot of simple things that interpret a lot, have specific meaning to us. And these things are here, and we acknowledge them and they acknowledge us, whether they're plants, animals, trees, waterways, everything that has to do with life is part of our lifeways, and that's how we communicate. And so communication's key. Like Norene said, we have technology now. We can have Zoom. We can Zoom, I'd love to see Native professors here at this college. And why is that so important? Because if you hear the voice of a Native professor, he's going to speak on his knowledge and from his heart. And that's important because great respect goes into them elders. I'm an elder, but my best teachers were our elders and chiefs and headsmen and ceremonial leaders. And I listened to them, and I'm thankful that I did. I really am, because when I can speak about these stories related to these prisoners that I was told from our elders, it was all oral. And they do have a story to tell. It's not ending. And so the more descendants we can interview, the more guest speakers, guest lecturers through technology, that will enhance our presence, but enhance education, and it will turn into something valuable, something appreciated. And so that's what I would like to see in collaboration. More too often, you know, we constantly hear federal regulations as federal units of these Park Service systems. We got to follow regulation. And yeah, for me, I understand that. Policy. but we're policymakers too. And if we can bring that voice to the table and collaborate and cooperate with one another, then we can move forward in the future. And too often, and another thing I want to really touch on right now with technology, it's kind of interesting how this film industry worked. In the beginning of Hollywood, they stereotyped us. They harmonized our stories. You know, they made it romantic on the Central Plains. Well, that's changing with the film industry. We're now into film. We have a presence there. And maybe a film comes out of this, a documentary about these warriors, about where the Cheyenne Rebel people live today in Concho, Oklahoma. And think about using that media. We now are using our language in those films, and they're consulting with us as language speakers. So there's opportunities to utilize film. And one of the local film people in Oklahoma with the episode or the film, the Res Dogs, that's pretty popular among the youth. And we can use that type of media to educate and tell these stories. I think we're going to reach out to the youth and connection with them. We can learn from them as well. We can learn how their skills are in media. And I'm proud that we do have filmmakers that are Cheyenne and Arapaho and other tribes as well. And so connect these stories to this story down here will really help us in the long run in filmmaking. So maybe we propose that in the future. But always be aware, let's do away with what was kind of a pattern in the past, stereotyping, you know, for us that don't exist anymore. We're Cheyenne and we're Arapaho. And come see us and we'll tell you who we are. So take time to visit, take time to honor these ancestors of your past any way you can, because that's expected of us, and that's what we want when we leave. Honor and respect. Thank you.
Just a couple of thoughts from lunch, from kind of floating around too. I'm guessing we could learn some other cultural traits, like maybe food, for the lunches.
It was going to make
Comments
soup and
came
fried
out.
bread.
We also, by the way, do have film department, film majors here. So they have done some documentary films. For example, one of them won several awards a few years ago for doing one on sea level rise here in St. Augustine. So I think there is potential for some additional partnering.
All
I
right.
have just 2 cents worth. So anyway, any other thoughts? You know, Park Service people are here. You know, you've got them all in one room. Or Gordon.
Park Service people.
The Parkies are here.
Well, I think for me, I hear a lot of things of just me as my title as a Cheyenne chief. I think we should start by taking away the word chief in these titles with the National Park Service. Do away with that. Call them regional directors, not chief of interpretation, because that word chief can be disrespectful, demeaning, and derogatory to us as who we are as Native people. It stereotypes us. And, you know, often we hear the word, hey, chief. And that makes me feel disrespected. So if we want to change language and titles, change these word chief that you use in your agency. Do away with that. Be respectful. Chief interpretation. Oh, that's the chief over there, not me.
I actually think Secretary Holland did that November 1st.
Well, see, I didn't know that. See, my suggestion is already on the move. That's powerful. And then superintendents, change it to regional directors, because we get tired of dealing with the BIA superintendent. And they changed theirs to regional directors. They're no longer called superintendents. It makes us feel like their hierarchy. They're up here, we're down here. We're looking up when we should be looking equal at each other. Never look down on an Indian, especially a Cheyenne or any other native respective tribe. And think about those things, common sense. And then going back to food, I would love to eat some alligator, but I haven't gotten that opportunity yet. And also traditional foods, soup and fry bread. And yesterday we had turkey sandwiches. It's good, healthy sandwiches. But in one of the ledger drawings that was produced by the Cheyenne, they drew the turkey in one of the drawings, and they said the warriors were afraid to eat the turkey because it made them less a warrior. Yeah. And see, Seminoles don't eat turkey. So we all got to learn, communicate, collaborate of appropriate foods. And it just makes everybody feel welcomed, feel at home. And I can tell you one thing, when this food is blessed, we eat it because it's blessed. We don't worry about the nutritional value, how it's going to affect our health. We don't worry about that because we know it's been blessed. And that blessing goes into the nutritional value of our spiritual way of life. It heals us, protects us. And so those are some little things that we all need to think about. Thinking about other things. You know, I talked about yesterday uniforms. When superintendents come to our office, they wear the uniform. Why? Because we respect that leadership they have, but we also want our people to know that we're having a meeting with these Park Service people, and our people are very curious. Just say they're having a big meeting at the tribal office, something's going on over there, we better kind of get in on this. See, that's how it works, appearance. And so it works both ways. Some say we don't want them to come in uniform because we don't want them to feel higher than us. But each tribe is going to have its own policy, whether it's written or oral. Respect that policy. Respect the rule. And, you know, for me, it's very easy because I learned, and I got scolded, and I got corrected. But I thank them for correcting me because it made me a better person. So that's kind of how I feel about all of this. And think about the traditional knowledge keepers of our people. Everything's academics, scholarly. My knowledge is probably beyond the PhD level. So is other tribes with their knowledge. Think about that. You know, we may not have the credentials, but we got that knowledge. And that's equal to those degrees. So I'm actively seeking my honorary doctorate degree. So Flagler College. Think about that. We deserve that, just like anybody else. So, you know, we can be academically strong too, and we are. So I'm still, like I said yesterday, I'm still learning English. But I'm doing the best I can. So I was told, don't just say, And I was told, don't ever say, uh-huh. And I said, why? And we were grown up saying that, uh-huh. And then don't go like this. I don't know. And it's like sometimes we don't know, but we ask questions to find out why. And so those are just little things. I saw yesterday Norene pointing with her lips, and she's standing up here. She's keeping in tradition. I said, look at her. We notice things like that. So always be aware that people's paying attention. And one of the best teachers I ever had was an elder. And I used to take him offerings, tobacco, money, food. And pretty soon he said, don't do that anymore. You proved to me that you're going to take care of this knowledge, and so don't do that anymore. You've earned my respect. He said, but others that come, they still have to do this, follow protocol. But you, he said, you've already reached your peak in respecting me for all these years of teaching you. So I felt good about that. And it makes me feel good in my heart that we're here. But we're going to go back with a sad heart and a heavy heart, you know. But regardless, we're still going to be living, and we're still going to be strong people.
Unless either of you has any more, that's sort of,
Well,
beauty does.
I just wanted to thank Gordon right now in front of everybody. He's been my mentor throughout this whole process, and I had no idea that he was bucking. I hadn't until just now, and I really didn't. So, but that's good because I didn't know. He didn't let me know. It wasn't none of my business, but he didn't let me know, and because I really needed him, you know. And he's been there. And I call him and bug him and text him and call him and go to his office, and I know he's tired of me because we got here and now he won't answer his phone. But I want to thank you, Gordon, for everything. I appreciate everything you've done for me and for helping me do this in a good, respectful, and kind way.
Yeah. And I want to thank you, too, for doing all of this for us. It's a lot of work. And also Flagler College and communicating. You know, we finally got it done. But like I said, let's not just end it here. This is only the beginning of that footprint. We left our footprint here now, and others are going to follow. So I hope there's many, many footsteps here in the future. And, you know, I commend Norene for putting up with us, too. And we have to follow her, and then she listens to us as well, and that's part about the team. And it's never, you know, they always say there's no I in the word team. We can't say I. We're a team here, a partnership, collaboration, and that's what we want to extend this team to make it bigger and better. And so, you know, I think that she deserves a lot of praise and glory for doing this, not just for her ancestors, but for all of us. So let's give her a hand again.
I'm going to read a poem. I found this poem on the internet. An old Indian woman. From time to time, I would sit and learn from her. On her 107th birthday, I visited her and I said, "They took your land." She said, "It wasn't ours to keep." "They gave you smallpox blankets." She said, "But we survived the winter." "They broke the treaties." She said, "It was merely paper." "They stampeded buffalo at you when you stood by the cliffs." She said, "Our spirits flew and became eagles and hawks and crows. They killed your leaders. She said, they became our ancestors. I was visibly frustrated with my old friend, and that's when she smiled and said, I used to be angry like you, until I woke up and I realized my life is their constant failure. We're here and resilient. Thank you so much for your time and everything. I appreciate all of you. Blagger College, I appreciate all the visual people and the media. And Miss Lori Lee, thank you. And Miss Keys, thank you. I appreciate everything that y'all done. And for my people that came and supported and participated. And, you know, they were inclusive, and I want everybody to feel included in everything that we do. It's imperative. Thank you. Nice.